Welcome back, it's me, Lou. I'm here for another action figure unboxing and review, and today we are looking at the 7 Deadly Sins Bon, and this is from McFarlane Toys. So this is based off of the popular anime series. I'm really excited to check this figure out. I've always kind of had a love-hate relationship with anime action figures. For me, it seems like it's very hard to take like a 2D anime character and then translate it into a, like actual three-dimensional action figure form. So for me, that's always been kind of the challenge of the companies. Can they successfully take a 2D character and then recreate it in 3D? Of course, we've seen that, countless times with like comic book action figures, but for some reason, it always seems like it's hard to translate anime into like a 3D figure. And for this figure, we'll see how successful McFarlane Toys was or is. So let's get started. First off, I love the package design. It's very bright. It's very colorful. I love that they placed like this kind of like cool backdrop behind Bon. It's a very anime-esque backdrop. Very colorful, very eye-catching. There's a nice portrait here in the corner. This appears to be the actual, just like fig photography of the actual figure. Personally, I would have appreciated it more if they gave us like, the actual like character design or like the actual real artwork from the anime, like maybe a screen grab. Likewise, on the side of the box, it's another shot of the actual action figure. Again, I would have appreciated it better if they gave us like a screen grab from the actual cartoon. But don't get me wrong, this still looks great. I think it's awesome. On the back, we have Bon. Again, a photo of the figure, but he's placed in front of a map, which is it's a nice detail. If you're a fan of the show, it's a nice shout out. But again, I kind of would appreciate more if they actually just pulled more art from the anime and just put it on the box. This figure features 22 moving parts. Yeah, so let's get this guy out of his plastic prison and get started. Okay, so also inside of the box, like I pointed out earlier, you get this cardboard insert, which is kind of being stubborn. I'm just going to leave it in there for now. But he does come with a standard McFarlane action figure stand, which is that kind of circle with a peg. And then you have the 7 Deadly Sins logo on it. So here we have Bon. First impressions of the figure while he's still on the tray. It looks pretty neat. I'm really excited to handle him and see how this figure checks out. Right now, I'm kind of impressed with the sculpting and the detail because it's very clean and it looks like the character. There appears to be some omission of some details. But for the most part, I think if you're a fan of the show, right off the bat, this looks like who it's supposed to be. He even comes with his 3-piece staff over here. Let's take that out for review also. The staff's all right. There's something about this that just feels a little bit generic. It's all one colored plastic. There's no paint application on it. Yeah, it just feels like an unpainted piece of plastic. Nothing to write home about. It would have been nice if they actually had real chains, but that'd bring up the price of the figure significantly. There's a little bit of warpage on mine, but I think that could easily be fixed. But it's cool. I mean, it's his trademark weapon, so it's nice to get that. All right, let's get Bon out of his tray here. Whoops, move this aside. Alright, so this action figure, let's take a look at this figure height-wise. Alright, so in terms of Bon's height, you're looking at an action figure that's... Oh, I'm like making a mess here. You're looking at a figure that's about... He's about almost 7 3/4 inches tall, and that's at the top of the spike on his head. So yeah, I mean, the figure is kind of deceivingly small because he's such a slender frame, but it's a pretty tall fig, so don't be fooled. Let's get this into focus. All right, so the sculpting on the figure, it's really clean. It's really nice. It's going to be kind of hard to see the details in the hair just because my light's kind of blowing out the details. But the hair is really well sculpted. So, like anime hair for me, it seems like it'd be so hard to translate into 3D form. You know, for example, like with the Dragon Ball characters, they kind of have that really spiked, pointy hair. But those are kind of like in mass chunks. And I think something like that's easier to sculpt than something like this. Although they're kind of similar in shape. Much like the character in the cartoon, his hair is kind of like a very, very light grayish blue. He has a nice smirk. He even kind of has like his sharp teeth. Now, the one thing I do have an issue with is the expression of his eyes. I kind of felt they could have given him a different expression just for his eyes. It's not the look I would have preferred, but I think it's a decent sculpt nonetheless. And the paint application for the eyes, it's pretty spot on. The sculpting on the jacket, it's superb. As you can see here, there's subtle folds. You can kind of see the musculature underneath his jacket, which is nice. The wrinkles are kind of clean, very realistic. Same with the wrinkles that come down to the extent towards the bottom. Yeah, really nice figure. So, upon handling this, this jacket here, it's a very dense, heavy kind of plastic. It's not as flexible as I'd like. This feels more like a display piece. It doesn't really feel like the kind of figure that you're going to get into like a whole lot of poses just because the jacket's so thick. Yeah, really nice figure overall. I'm enjoying what I'm handling so far. He even has a cutout on his back. All right, in terms of the articulation, this guy's head rotates left, it rotates right. He can look down about this much, which is nice. That's kind of surprising. He can look up pretty high, which is pretty good. He has a nice, slender, long neck. His proportion, in terms of his proportions, this figure does a great job of capturing the proportions of the character as seen in the show. Like I said, you know, this is a very like slender character to begin with, and I think it does a great job of capturing his musculature perfectly. He's not too lean. He's not bulked out. For his arms, they could go out, they could rotate up. It hits the top of his coat here. And again, this is a very thick, heavy plastic. His arms go out. They could rotate. There's a bicep cut. He has double jointed elbows. You can see both pins right there. Wrist articulation. He can rotate his wrists. And I think you can fold them in slightly. Not a whole lot. Just because it's hitting the cuff of the sleeve. Waist articulation. Alright, this is where it's getting kind of tricky because it looks like he does have a cut in his abdomen, but this jacket is just so stiff that it's not going to want to crunch or bend or twist. I think he might be able to swivel at the waist. If he does, it's not happening because, like I said, this is a very thick, stubborn material. This doesn't really want to move. There's not a whole lot of give to this. In terms of his legs, they kick forward about this much. They can kick out, but again, you know, because of the jacket, it's not going to go out all the way. He has double pinned knees. And he has ankle articulation. Yeah, so it's a great figure, but like I said, when you start to handle it, it starts to feel like it's meant to be more so a display piece. Um, it's a very stiff figure. It's like if you're used handling some of the McFarlane's other toys, like Mortal Kombat or DC Multiverse, those figures, they feel a little bit more versatile. There's a little bit more mobility and the range of motion in their articulations a lot further than this guy. Like this guy has all the articulation, but it seems like because of how thick and how hard this plastic is, it's not going to want to provide a lot of room for movement. But I think it's a great figure. If you're a fan of the anime, it's not like you have a whole lot of options when it comes to Seven Deadly Sins in terms of action figures. So I think this is a great, first outing for McFarlane for Bond especially. Yeah, great figure. The detail's nice. He has the scar on his cheek and on his neck. When you pull away the jacket, you can kind of see how he's articulated at the shoulder. Like right there. Big gap. Alright, so now how accurate is this guy as opposed to like how he looks on the TV show? Alright, so here I believe this is the actual character design sheet for Bond as he appears in Season 2. So this look is based off of the Season 2 version of Bond. And when I first saw the action figure, one of the things I noticed immediately is that he kind of has like these small studs on his forearms. And that's a detail that's omitted from this action figure. It seems like it'd be really easy just to like, apply those little studs here as a paint application. But, he's kind of missing that. Now, this is what I was talking about in terms of like recreating the hair. It seems like it's so difficult to get the hair right. Like from a profile view, it does a pretty good job. I think taking this and translating it to 3D form could be very challenging. But for the most part, I think McFarlane did a pretty decent job of recreating the hair. Especially at all the different angles. One thing I kind of wished for in terms of the paint application or even the plastic is that even though his pants are a different shade than his jacket, I kind of like it in how in the anime it appears like there's more sheen on his pant legs. Here it just kind of looks like a red plastic. I would appreciate more if his pants looked a little bit more glossier. But overall, I think it's a great interpretation of the character in figure form. One thing I'm hoping for is that in the future, if this line continues, I'm hoping to give us, the much more popular look of Bond. Here's Bond from Season 3, and this is the look that, it's a lot more popular with fans. It's the much more common look. I think this is a really cool look for the character. And likewise, I think if they made a figure of this, I think in terms of the articulation, it wouldn't be restricted by this coat. I think it would allow for more movement in his legs and in his waist. So yeah, fingers crossed that in the future, hopefully we'll get Season 3 version of Bond. Alright, so let's talk numbers. How do I rate this figure numerically on a scale of 1 to 10? So on a scale of 1 to 10, just based on appearance, I would say this guy is about an 8 to like an 8.5. It's almost perfect. It's missing a little bit of the details in the forearm, and I'm not too keen on the expression they gave his eyes. But for the most part, I think it's a great, figure. The one thing that does hurt it is the coat. I like the fact that the coat's a hard plastic and then it's kind of like pre-posed as if it's kind of like flowing in the wind. But at the same time, since it's a harder plastic, it restricts the articulation of the legs. So you're not going to be able to get him in like all those super dynamic poses that you'd like. But overall, I think it's a great figure. I'm very impressed with it. You know, I'm just keeping my fingers crossed that we get Bond from season 3. That's what I'm hoping for. Yeah, so if you're a fan of the anime, you know, this is definitely worth a purchase. I think it's great. Alright, so let's wrap this video up. Once again, my name is Lou. Thank you so much for checking out this video. If you are new to my channel, welcome. If you are a returning subscriber or viewer, thank you so much for your continued likes, comments, and support. I greatly appreciate it. So, until the next video, be safe, take care of yourself, and more importantly, be happy. And I'll talk to you later.